Hi everyone. I want to give you something to think about today. The topic of this video is adjusting your mobility to your body. What I want you to think about for the next few minutes is a pet fish. I think all of us would agree that the fish needs to live in a tank of water, and that if we take him out of his tank of water and put him in the atmosphere that we live in, the fish will die within a few minutes. Now I want to ask you to take that thought and apply it to yourself with whatever physical disability or mental health disability that you have. There's going to be a set of parameters that if you operate within, you're going to be thriving. But if you cross the line, it's going to become a very hard day for you where there's going to be repercussions. I want to challenge you to invest the time and the energy into knowing where your boundaries are. I've had to deal with doctors and specialists not understanding what's wrong with my body several times now. I don't begrudge them. It was so specialized that it took someone else taking a fresh look at me to find it. So in that thought pattern, I've had to discover what my physical limits are myself. And quite frankly, I'm the one that lives in this body, so I'm the expert of how this functions. I may ask questions of a doctor, making them a resource to help me understand, or I may ask a surgeon to operate to help me improve my functionality, but I'm still the expert because I live in this set of skin. With that in mind, I've had to study and test and figure out for myself what my limits are. You know, a doctor can't feel what it's like when you bend a certain way or what it feels like when you're trying to walk. You can try to explain it, but even that sometimes isn't received well because you're not using a word a doctor is expecting. So there's times when trying to understand what my boundaries are that I cross the line and I pay for it and spend 3 days resting to physically recover. There's other times when, this parameter changes. Let's say, for example, when I got a new hip joint, I had to rediscover what it was that I could do now that I couldn't do before, and to figure out what the container for my life, the shape it now took on, and what the limits for it now were. There's also the part of this where I've been doing research on my own. I encourage you to research what's wrong with you so you can understand it, and it'll improve your quality of life as long as you can understand it correctly. And there's nothing wrong with going to a doctor and asking them to translate a medical report into English for you. I've done this different times. The important part when you're researching is that you don't just adopt someone's definition of your disability or what's wrong with you, you need to filter through what symptoms are yours and what symptoms doesn't affect you. And it's important you do this, because if you do it wrong, you could easily be accused of being a hypochondriac. That is, someone who's thinking there's something wrong when it doesn't exist. So you need to have that filter mechanism or the filter thought pattern in place when you're researching your disability and what's wrong with you. I encourage you to do it though, because knowledge is empowerment. Where this gets interesting is in the quality of life and quality of life issues. So there are times when it's worth stepping outside the boundaries of what I've learned for myself, because it's going to bring so much joy or enjoyment in life that it's worth the downtime afterwards while my body's recovering. The catch is that you can only do this on special occasions, because otherwise you're going to always find yourself flat on your back. Because of having ongoing physiotherapy, about every 6 weeks I attempt to relearn what my boundaries are, so I'm accurately portraying them to the doctors that are trying to help me. It does mean pushing the limit so you can find where the boundaries are. It prevents me from being locked in, let's say, where I think my limits are like this, when they're a little bit wider. And it was important that I did this. And in a situation that's developing, it's important that you don't lock yourself in to a set of boundaries that aren't truly yours, where you're able to do more than you acknowledge yourself. And I do want to say that once more, it's really important that you don't lock yourself in to a set of boundaries that aren't yours. The final topic that I want to touch on in this video is what other people think. I don't want to be insensitive to your feelings. There's going to be times when people don't understand what your limits are. Your friends will accept you for who you are and challenge you to be pushing yourself and making the most out of your life. There's times where you have to just let go of people thinking, well, he was on crutches one day, why is he in a wheelchair for that distance today? People who aren't educated in what you're dealing with aren't the expert, and they aren't the authority on your health and your life. And you have to let their opinions go off of you like water rolls off of a duck's back. It means that you're not going to be able to please everyone all the time. It's important that you have a few people in your life that you can be honest with, and they'll help provide feedback as you're in the journey and help you with your life in practical ways. There's part of this that's acknowledging that life that was once is no more, and that you work through to where you're accepting where you're at now and then you keep pushing yourself for the best quality of life that's possible. And I'll tell you, it's going to be worth it in the end. It's a lot of hard slugging while you're going through it, but you're making the best quality of life for yourself that is possible. And then ultimately, you're in the position of trusting God for what you can't do and the comfort that comes when you're feeling weak and vulnerable. Thank you for this time that you spent with me today. Bye for now.